Hey, gang, we're going to get started in about 2 minutes. And when I say gang, I mean myself. I'm going to give till 11:05 and then we'll start. The good news is, if I am here talking by myself, not the first time, won't be the last. But the good news is, I'll be recording all this. So I'm still going to go over all the things I want to talk about today. In the event that you didn't come here with questions, boom, boom. I had them all taken care of. Some advanced, some beginner, and we'll just go from there. And like I said, this recording will be available for Patreon patrons. And you know what? I think I think right now, let's start. Let me start off by saying, Patreon patrons, thank you so much for your support, for all that you do for Zen Commuter and Commuter in 5. There are a ton of creators out on Patreon that are giving you a ton of extras. And while this is going to be the first of many, I feel like I'm a little lax in that. In fact, I'm going to tell you a little story. When a buddy of mine, Brendan Barca, said, hey, you should think about Patreon. No, actually, I don't even think it was Brendan. I think it was somebody else. And I said, well, I do that, but I'm like, I really don't have a lot of extra bandwidth to developing extra content because of Zen Commuter and Commuter in 5 taking up so much of that. So I'm like, I don't really feel right doing that. And then he said, dude, the fact that you're producing that content is exactly why people want to follow you. So you might not give them extra bonus stuff every week, every day, but the things they come here for are the things you're supplying every day. So that's a good thing. So with all that said, I'm excited to be starting this because this will be a weekly thing going forward, which is awesome, something I can fit in my schedule, and hopefully something you can as well. We're going to be coming here to talk about whatever is on your mind, and in the event that you don't have any questions, I'm going to have a topic in the background to say, okay, anything? No? Cool. Let's talk about A, B, C. All right, so let's get into the questions right now. Like I said, I have 10 questions, 5 beginner and 5 advanced. And we'll just go one at a time. We'll start with, I'll probably, the more I think about it, I'll go beginner, advanced, beginner, advanced, beginner, advanced. We'll go that way. So number one is a question I get asked all the time for beginners. And it is, how long should I meditate for? And if you've listened to Zen Commuter, you know what my answer is going to be, but I'm going to expound on it a little bit here. For anybody who has never meditated before, it's really daunting. Does that mean I think you shouldn't do it? Like, no, you should. Of course you should do it. You can go right in, power through. You can get through this. And it's not like it's anything arduous. But as I tell people, if you've lived your life without a quiet mind ever, then quieting your mind is really tough. It's going to be tougher for some people than for others. But for the most part, most people, it's challenging. So sitting down for an extended period of time with your own thoughts, and for those people that don't even want to be with their thoughts, that's a really long time. So of course, my answer is start off small. Small sessions. Because our ultimate goal is to meditate every day, to make it part of your daily routine, whenever that is. And I'll talk about when I think that is, or when that might be most beneficial, I should say, later on. But getting back to my point, if we want to make it consistent, then we have to have some wins. I remember when I was a personal trainer, people would come in and they'd never worked out before. And they'd be like, you know what? I am in it. I am just going to knock it out of the park. I'm going to come here every day next week for about an hour. I'm like, I don't want to sit here for an hour every day next week. And they kind of scratch their head like, what? Why not? Because you'll do that for an hour and then something will come up the next week and you'll kind of hem and haw and you'll get anxious. You're like, I'm not going to be able to make it. And then you'll kind of doubt that you never could make it. And then you'll just give up. Well, the same thing is true for meditation. There are so many pressures when we go out and look at meditation sites. And back in the day, I'm going to pull the old man card to say that when I started meditating 35 years ago, meditation wasn't even a thing. In fact, people thought I was weird for meditating. But now mindfulness meditation is all over the place. In fact, even though I am a meditation guy, if I scroll through Twitter and see some people that I follow, there's a couple people that post their meditation results, meaning, hey, I just meditated for an hour and 15 minutes. Let me know if you want to learn how to meditate. I'm like, part of that kind of strikes me as like, that's not really being a nice meditation teacher. Yes, it's good to offer people ways to learn how to meditate, but by telling you that you meditated for an hour and 15 minutes, that has people thinking like, oh, I guess meditating for an hour and 15 is the norm. And it's not. There is no norm. That's what's so awesome about meditating. Your norm is the norm. But getting back to my point, if we don't have those small wins, you're going to give up. So start infinitesimally small. 2 minutes, literally 2 minutes. And for some people, that's going to be really tough. I mean, you could set a timer, like Insight Timer, the app for iOS and for Android, or you could just literally set a timer on your phone. Count down 2 minutes. And then you could start even with your eyes open. Just become familiar with sitting still and sitting quietly. And at first, maybe those first couple sessions, you don't even, quote, meditate. You just become familiar with the process of sitting and being still. Not to overuse metaphors for personal training, but when I work out, if I start working out, I don't automatically jump to my heaviest weight. I start with what's called an acclimation set, meaning that I start off with a light weight for my body to say, oh, yeah, we're going to start working out. Okay, I got this. And you slowly get used to it. Well, sitting here for 2 minutes with your eyes open, just being aware of things around you, is going to be like your acclimation set. And we're not going to do that all the time. It's just going to be the first couple of times as you get used to meditating and sit for 2 minutes. And then slowly close your eyes and become familiar with that. And then for a week, do 2 minutes. Then for another week, 3 minutes. Now the goal, of course, obviously is consistency. But if you get done with 2 minutes, no matter how difficult it is, you're like, sweet, that was kind of tough, but I did it. And you have that kind of adrenaline rush of like, nice, I did it. And that success propels you to do it the next day, and the next day, and the next day. Excuse me. Now, with that said, if you ever break that streak, don't freak out. It's all good. You can start again the next day. I mean, don't give yourself like, meditation, whatever. If I get it done, I get it done. If not, if not. Like, that's not what I'm saying to go for. What I'm saying is that if you're consistent and something comes up, whatever it is, and you really can't continue to meditate for that day, and you miss a day, the day comes and you're like, I didn't meditate. Relax. Don't beat yourself up. Life's too short. Just hit it the next day. I forget who it was, but there was a habit guy. I don't know if it was James Clear or maybe even Leo Babauta. But basically the rule is never skip twice or never miss twice. So you can miss once, but if you miss twice, you're kind of going to start to get into a pattern. But long story short, too late. Small, small, small. Start 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes. Next question, advanced. How do I get into deep meditation? Well, as I say many times, when we go into a meditation, we can have intentions, but we shouldn't have expectations. Because just like in life, when we have expectations, sometimes they're met, sometimes they're not. And if we don't have them, then we can't get too bummed out. We can't get too stressed out that something didn't quite go the way we wanted it to. So the same is true for meditation. If you say, I want to have a deep meditation session, then that's kind of an expectation. What's the difference between an expectation and an intention? An intention means that you're saying, okay, this is what I want to happen. If it happens, that's cool. If it doesn't, that's cool too. Expectation is this has to happen right now, this way, no questions asked. I think you can see the difference. One's a little like, hey, whatever, cool. And the other is, gotta get it done, gotta have that happen. So with that said, don't go into any meditation saying, I want this to be a deep meditation. But you can go into the intention of thinking that I'm going to sit here with the intention of experiencing a deeper sense of calm, of connection, of wisdom, whichever your intention is. Now, you might think that a deep meditation is something that's only going to be for advanced people. And even though this is the advanced question topic, it's not. I'm going to share something with you. There are days that I sit down to meditate and it's profound. The connection to the universe is profound. My connection to all life, my connection to my higher self, my connection to peace is just intense. And then there are other times I sit and I'm thinking about things I have to do. And I bring my mind back to my breath or my focus, whatever it is for that day. And thoughts will come and I'll refocus. Thought, refocus, thought, refocus. And by the end of my session, 20 minutes, I'm like, okay, well, I kept the streak alive. That's cool. I was still. That's cool. But sometimes a diamond, some days are coal. But there are definitely things you can do to get into that space of a deeper meditation. I don't want to just say, let you think that like, oh, that'll happen or it won't, whatever. Nope. There are definitely things you can think about. You can think about following thoughts. And I've talked about this on Zen Commuter a lot. Many times we're told in a meditation that you shouldn't be engaging in thoughts. That when a thought comes, you see it and just let it drift by thought, and bring your focus back to your breath. Well, sometimes in a meditation, I'll get thoughts that aren't normal day-to-day thoughts, meaning they don't relate or correspond to anything in my waking life. And when those things happen, I make a decision, sometimes yes, sometimes no, to do what I call following that thought. Meaning I just allow that thought to unfold and see where it takes me. In those times, many times, if not most times, those thoughts lead to deeper wisdom, deeper meditation. And they have me going on for longer periods of time meditating that I wouldn't have thought that I wanted to do in that moment. Let me see if I can think about an example. Well, actually, there are all these examples that I could give you are personal to me. And while I don't want to not share the things that are personal with me for our purposes here, our intents here, it'd be kind of boring. But that process is going to be the same, whether it's you or with me. And if there's something that strikes you as deep and profound, there are two things you can do. And it sounds very common sense. You can either stop it if it's becoming too intense. We'll talk about that a little later. Or you can continue with that and see where that goes. 9 times out of 10, probably 10 times out of 10, it'll lead to a deeper meditation. The next question from the beginner set, how do I keep my mind from wandering? That's a huge one. That's probably even more frequently asked than how long should I meditate? How do I keep my mind from wandering? The answer, you don't. That's where the stress comes in. I was reading an article today talking about how sometimes people get all freaked out because they can't meditate. Let me be the first, well, I hope I'm not the first, but let me be another person to say, there is no wrong way to meditate. We get all ramped up, wrapped around the axle, and we think, oh, I'm not meditating like Andy Puddicombe, the guy that created Headspace. I'm not meditating like Tom, or I'm not meditating like this guy on Twitter, this gal on Facebook or Instagram. You don't have to mirror anybody else's meditation practice. A meditation practice is at its very core just for you, individual. And you can share with other people, obviously, or you can keep it as something that you do for your sense of peace, for your sense of peace of mind, comfort, whatever your goals for meditation are. It's your practice. And you don't have to try and keep up with the Joneses, so to speak. That is a very common theme here in the West, in the Western part of the world, that we're trying to be the best. There's no best in meditation. But getting back to the question, how do you keep your mind from wandering? You don't. In fact, when your mind wanders and you notice your mind wandering, that's like, woo, red flag. That's awesome. That's good. Yeah, you should celebrate that. Because do you know how many times people notice their mind wandering in a day, people that don't meditate? And I don't mean to sound judgmental at all, but for the majority of people, their mind flies all over the place and they don't even think about anything. They don't know when their mind has switched to something. I think somebody had said that we have 40,000, and that seems kind of light to me, 40,000 thoughts in a day. But for most people, they don't know when they go from one thought to another. But you, if you're sitting down and your eyes are closed and you're like, oh, then you have that thought like, oh, I'm thinking about work, or I'm thinking about what I want to do later on, and you notice yourself that you have that thought, I can't stress it enough. That's absolutely awesome, because you're becoming aware of your thoughts. You're not just letting them wash over you. You're knowing when they happen. And to our point, when your mind wanders, just like I said before, bring your attention back to your breath or whatever focus you have. Maybe that's a mantra, maybe that's music, whatever it is, just bring your mind back. Now because this is the beginner section, beginner question, another important thing to be aware of is that we all have this thought that meditation is about clearing your mind. And I got to tell you, I'm a pretty chill guy, but when I hear anybody say, okay, let's start by clearing our mind, I'm like, no, that's not the way it works. And not that I have all the answers, but if you try and tell somebody to clear their mind, you might as well say, stop all thought in your brain. And the only way you're going to do that is when you die. So to tell somebody to clear their mind is a total setup. Your brain has thoughts. It's what your brain does. The goal of meditation is to just say, cool, there's a thought. Let it go. There's a thought. Sweet, whatever. Acknowledge it, don't empower it, and let it go, and bring your focus back. You'll never clear your mind of all thoughts. Pardon me, while I get a little bit of water. Actually, it's not water, it's lemonade. Sugar-free lemonade, don't you worry. Question number 2 from the advanced section is, what type of meditation is best? If you know me, you know what my answer is going to be. Absolutely, the best type of meditation is the one you do. Yeah, I know that's a cheesy answer, but it's the truth. And it doesn't have to be one type all the time. There is no one type of meditation, just like there is no right way to meditate. If you're sitting down, stilling your mind, then you're already there. You already got it done. The best is going to be the one that resonates with you. There are literally thousands of different types of meditation. Meditation has been around for over 2,500 years. So as you can imagine, there are a lot of different ways to meditate. So find one that you like and one that resonates with you. If you find that a loving kindness meditation works for you and you feel a strong affinity towards that, do that. And if you feel that a Zazen meditation is going to be beneficial, where you simply sit and sit and sit, as my friend Brad Warner says, then that's what you do. The best one is going to be the one that will continue your consistency, allow you to meditate all the time, and the one that brings you the most benefit. And it's going to change over your lifetime. I've been meditating for over 35 years, and my meditation practice now from what it was when I started, so totally different, totally different. Maybe I'll share that with the next time we get together. So question number 3, how do I avoid not falling asleep? Well, I don't like to brag, but when I meditate in 35 years, I have never fallen asleep. Not once. Nope, not once. Yeah, that is a horrible, horrible lie. I have fallen asleep several times. When I was first starting meditating, I'd fall asleep continuously. But now, not really an issue, and I'll tell you why. There is no right time to meditate, of course. But I do recommend, when people are first learning how to meditate, to think about waking up just a little bit earlier and fitting it into their morning routine. And there are 2 reasons for that. First off, first thing in the morning, you don't have 19 other things clamoring for your attention. When you wake up, hopefully, if you have a family or if you have a significant other, even if you live alone, when you wake up, if you wake up before everybody else, it's like, woohoo, free time with no worries, nothing to do, nobody I have to truck off to soccer practice, nothing I have to get ready for my significant other. It's just my time. So that's your time, no distractions. And if you get up early enough, no phones, no chirps, no nothing from a cell phone. So that's your time. So that's why I recommend meditation first thing in the morning. The second reason is that when you meditate in the morning, hopefully you get that sense of peace. And that sense of peace lasts the entire day. Now, of course, that's not going to be the case every time. But if you start off the day in a chill space, you kind of have that feeling of chill in your body. So if something starts to like get at you and you're like, you just remember that meditation that you had in the morning, the calm that you felt. And you're like, you know what? Yeah, no, you're not going to get me. I got this. I'm chill. So that's what I would recommend. But getting back to that point, so meditation first thing in the morning is going to be beneficial for not falling asleep because you've just woken up. And I would recommend getting out of bed when you meditate. Can you meditate lying down? Yep. But chances are good. If you're lying in bed and the alarm clock goes off, you wake up and you're like, I think I'm going to meditate. Close your eyes. Come on. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what's going to happen. So get up and meditate somewhere else. And that's how you avoid not falling asleep. The other thing too is to just be aware of your body. And as you become more aware, then you'll know, wow, I'm kind of tired. Maybe meditating isn't what's going to be best for me. And you'll think about something else. Or you'll find out that like, I might fall asleep. And if I do, I do. And I used to tell people, I'm like, meditating in the morning is probably going to be your best bet. It's not the answer, but if that works for you, that's cool. That's what I'd recommend. But if you end up meditating at night, just realize that you're probably going to fall asleep. Now, of course, like I said before, if you're sitting down, chances are that you'll fall asleep less easily. I'm like, no, I shouldn't say that because just last week I was sitting in a chair just like this with my posture right. Oh yeah, oh yeah. But getting up out of bed is going to be helpful. If you're meditating at night, just realize it might happen and go with it. Is it strictly meditating? Not really, but you will get the best night's sleep that you've ever had. And that's a cool thing, especially for people that are insomniacs or have trouble falling asleep. In fact, I know many people, in fact, Insight Timer has a section in it for sleep. Meditations to help you get to sleep. Meditations to help you stay asleep. So that's something to think about. Number 3 for the advanced section, how do I deal with difficult feelings in a meditation? That's a good question, and it's got many answers. To be honest with you, one of our goals in meditation is to become objective in a sense. The goal of meditation, I say this, and if you've heard me say this, you're probably going to hear it again. Well, you are going to hear it again. But when we meditate, our goal is to expand the gap between stimulus and response. And what I mean by that is that many times, without a meditation practice, people are just kind of on edge. Suppose somebody says something to you that just hits you in the wrong way. You don't think about it and say, wow, I wonder what they thought by that. I'm like, wow, that wasn't really the kindest thing they could have said. I'm like, I wonder what I want to say in response to that. No, if somebody cheeses you off and you don't have a meditation practice, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be like, what? What did you say? And you're going to zip right into that emotional response. You don't have any gap between stimulus and response. You don't have any buffer to look at what they said or feel what they said in your body. So meditation gives us the ability to lengthen that response. I always tell Zen Commuter listeners that one great example from my own life is that when I was working as a personal trainer, there's a day after 7 years that I got fired. I didn't do anything wrong. I don't know if it was politics, to be honest with you. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. But I remember in that moment starting to get angry. But I could feel that anger in my body because I meditated. I could feel the different sensations in my body. My heart was starting to pound a little faster. My breathing was becoming labored. But because of my meditation practice, I noticed that. I didn't just fly in and say, how dare you fire me after all these years I've given you? I just noticed that and I stayed quiet. And I didn't get drawn into that anger. So I just was removed. And that's what meditation gives us the ability to do. And at that point, I just said, you know what? Let's continue this talk in a little bit. I don't feel like I am best suited to continue. And I walked out. But getting back to that question, how do I deal with difficult feelings in a meditation? There are two ways we can go. We can either consciously, not reactively, consciously decide to get into those emotions, to feel those emotions, to experience those emotions. Or we can do just what I said, step back and just look at them. Not as anything that we have to respond to or react to, just look at it. So when you have feelings in a meditation that are difficult, whether it be anger, whether it be sadness, whether it be elation, you have two choices. You can either follow them or just simply look at them and feel them in your body. Now, of course, if you're in a meditation and something, I guess troubling is a good word. If something comes up and you're having a lot of difficult feelings and they're really becoming overwhelming, one of the things you can do, well, two things you can do. You can remove yourself, just like I said, and not get drawn into that. Or on a more self-care level or a different self-care level, you can just say, yeah, I think I need to end this meditation, and do the things that you do to end a meditation. Now, many times that can be something as simple as opening up your eyes. But I wouldn't recommend coming out of a meditation with such an abrupt way. So if you are in a meditation, you're like, yeah, you know what? I don't think I want to continue on with this meditation. Instead of just stopping abruptly, one thing you could do is just slowly bring your attention to the sounds in the room. Become familiar with the room, because when we're meditating, our focus is going inward. We're taking all our attention and bringing it inward. And if we want to leave a meditation, then it makes sense. The exact opposite is what we want to do. We want to think about the surroundings in our room. It could be sounds. It could be literally just feeling the chair underneath you and slowly begin to feel your environment. Then maybe give your hands a little neck, and then open your eyes. Yep. It's important to realize that your meditation practice is your meditation practice, and you, at the risk of sounding like controlling guy, you call the shots. You can continue to go, you can stop, you can do whatever you need to take care of yourself. So that's it for that. Number 4, what do you think about during meditation? Well, like I mentioned earlier, everything and nothing. When we first start meditating, it's difficult not to think about things because, like I said, we've never been alone with our thoughts. We've never had the ability or even known how to train our thoughts to be like, you know what? I can either turn you on or turn you off. No, we just kind of accept thoughts. And to be honest, that's one of the hugest reasons I meditate, because when we wake up, we out in the world, and people that don't meditate, they're not aware of their thoughts. They're not aware of their feelings per se. And they just think that whatever comes my way, I just got to take it. I just got to let it wash over me. 9 times out of 10, well, I shouldn't say 9 times out of 10, but 50-50, sometimes that's good stuff. Sometimes that's bad stuff. But you have the ability with a meditation practice to say, that's coming my way. I'm like, yeah, I don't think I want to experience that right now. Or maybe you do, but it gives us the ability to stop and think and process. But getting back to that question, what do you think about during meditation? Nothing and everything. Getting back to the nothing, we can have our focus be without thought, meaning that, just here's a great example. In those times when my meditations are a little lighter, meaning that my thoughts are more prevalent, I do what I tell you. If I'm meditating and I have a thought, okay, I acknowledge it. I see it drift by like clouds in the sky. That's a great analogy. And then I return my focus back to my breath. I feel my belly expanding. I feel it going into my chest, and I hold. And then I exhale. And that's just about taking deep breaths. It could be something as when we think about bringing our focus to our breath, those are the things we can think about. The feelings in our body, our belly expanding, our chest expanding, our shoulders rising and then falling. the coolness of the air in our nose, the warmth of it leaving our mouth. These are all ways we can return our focus back to our breath. And this is going to be something Zen Commuter listeners have heard me say time and time again. You can only have one thought at a time. So if you're thinking about what you have to do that day, well, if you bring your focus back to your breath, the thought of your breath, well, that's the thought. And that other one kind of just flies away. And you might have to do that time and time again, depending on the day. If you're new, that happens a lot. If you are having an extremely active brain day, you'll do that a lot. That happens to me, happens to everybody. But so those are the things to think about and not think about. You can, of course, think about a focus. And when I think about thinking and focus, I know that sounds very convoluted, but focusing and thinking on some level could have the same quality. I mean, if you're focusing on your breath, you are focusing on it from a sensory standpoint, but you're also feeling it too. You're thinking about feeling it going through your nose, coming out your mouth, and all those things. So you can think about the focus, and that's one thing to do during a meditation as a beginner. The last question in the difficult section, wow, that was a Freudian slip, wasn't it? It's not difficult, it's advanced. Advanced. Is a meditation retreat right for me? Well, it depends how far along you are in your meditation practice. It depends on what kind of retreat it is. And it depends on what kind of, I don't even want to say baggage, but what other challenges you've had to deal with in the past. Let me explain that. So because meditation is so, God, I even hate to say the word trendy, because meditation is so trendy, there are places that pop up all over for meditation retreats. And they might not be specific meditation retreats. It might be like a Sandals that offers a meditation class. It might be something that light. But on the other end of the spectrum, it could be something exactly the opposite. You might be going to a retreat center or maybe even a monastery where meditation is all you do. Maybe there's speaking, maybe there's not. I mean, I would imagine that probably the most difficult for people, probably myself included, I think I could do it, but many people would think I couldn't, but it's to be silent for the entire weekend. There are breaks, obviously, but for the most part, you're silent all throughout the weekend. So it depends what type of meditation place you're going to. If you're new to meditating, then maybe the Sandals with a meditation class is a good one. If you've been advanced for a while and you think you could deal with the silence, that might be something to go with there. It's going to be really important to have an understanding about how comfortable you are with stillness and with silence. If you just started meditating, I wouldn't run off to a monastery thinking that you can be silent for an entire week, or weekend rather, or week, depending on the place. That might be very overwhelming for you. And getting back to the last point I had, that if there is any trauma that you've experienced in your lifetime, sometimes a meditation brings that to the surface. And in a setting that is silent, you might not feel supported. So if you are prone to, if you're prone to remembering trauma in whatever level, it might not be the best to go to a retreat until you've dealt with that underlying trauma and come to grips with it, either through your own meditation, sitting in your own room, or with a therapist or what have you. Because like I said, many times people have troubling things happen in their past and it stays buried deep, deep. And for people that don't meditate, they kind of self-soothe, meaning they drink, they do drugs, they binge watch Netflix, they engage in promiscuous sex. They do all these things to I don't want to think about that. Just keep that away from me. But when they meditate, obviously all those distractions are away and they're left with that trauma and the thoughts. And sometimes, obviously, it could be horrifically overwhelming. So I would not recommend going to a retreat if you're dealing with something like that or have had something like that in the past that is still kind of raw, kind of fresh. The last question from the beginner standpoint is, are guided meditations good? Well, good, bad, right, wrong, left, right. Those are all judgments, right? There's no such thing as good or bad in my book. There are things going to be serving, and there are things that are going to be disserving. When it comes to a meditation, all meditations are going to be serving. And if you're a beginner, a guided meditation is going to be even more serving. It's not going to be true for everybody, but hear me out. If you have difficulty just sitting silently with your thoughts as a beginner, yeah, that could be pretty challenging. But imagine if you had somebody guiding you through meditation saying, okay, now we're going to focus on taking some nice, deep breaths. In fact, you know what? Let's take a brief recess to do that together. This is a perfect venue, right? So we're going to take some deep breaths. How we do that? We're going to breathe in through our nose for a count of 4, expanding our belly, then our chest, holding it for 7 seconds, and then letting it out. This is the first time I've done this on video, so this can be kind of cool. So let's do this together. Inhale for 4. Hold for 7. And exhale for 8. Let's do it one more time. Inhaling through the nose, expanding our belly. Hold for 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and exhaling for 8. Let's give it one more. In through the nose. Hold. And let it out. Not bad, right? I thought that was a good time to take that break, especially talking about deep breaths. But in regards to guided meditations, they're great because you can only have one thought, right? And if your thought is following the instructions of the person guiding the meditation, well, then you're not going to get caught up in your own thoughts. You're just going to be following a story or a meditation, for want of a better word. So that is the list. I hit all 9. I know I didn't have 5 and 5, and my retentive brain says, that's not right. But because I'm a meditator, I'm like, dude, whatever. It's all good. So it is just me here, and that's cool. No worries. I'm going to, to be honest with you, I thought it was going to be just me because I did not give you guys and gals a lot of warning. So I'm going to do that I'll do a much better job of that next time. The good news is if you're a Patreon patron, then, and actually if you're listening to this, you are, then this is being recorded. So I'll put that up on Patreon so that you'll have access to that. So my friends, I want to thank you for watching this video. And you know, of course, that I'm here for all your questions. So if you have any questions that you want to talk about or that you want to submit for us to be talking about weekly, then send them to thom@zencommuter.com. And even if you don't want to have them talked about, if you have anything that you want to talk about, questions, comments, concerns, write me. I can't say it enough. I love, 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 love hearing from you out there. I'm not a guy that's prone to loneliness, but it's only me in that studio over there behind the mic. So as you know, I love people. So anytime I can get to talk with people, different people about anything, I'll take that opportunity. And when it's about meditation, whew, hunker down, get a cup of coffee. We're going to have a talk. I kid. We can make it as light or as heavy duty as we need to. So my friends, I want to thank you so much for all your support with Zen Commuter and Comrade 5. And if I haven't made it abundantly clear, I'll say it one last time. I'm here for you, for your practice, for your calm, for your life. Your well-being is my well-being. Mi casa es su casa. You have a great rest of the day, and I will talk to you soon. I love you all. Peace.